Okay, so the first thing I would like to do is I want us to graph number 2. Okay, sorry. This is on the homework page. I know they all look alike. And there's 4 problems. And at the top it says graphing rational functions with and without holes. And it says graph the following rational functions. Does everybody see? Okay. Okay, so number 2, when I look at this, here's what normally happens. Normally, most of you get all this right, and then you just hate the graphing. Like, that's normally what happens. But the graphing is so easy, y'all. You can do this. So first of all, what's the first thing I have to do before I start, guys? I'm in a factor, so I get x plus 1 over x minus 2 times x plus 1. And from there, before I do anything, we do the domain, right? And so what makes the bottom 0? So we can't have 2 and negative 1. As soon as I do that, the next thing I'm going to do is cancel. I'm going to cancel my x plus 1s. And as soon as I cancel, what does that tell me I have? I have a hole, so I'm going to put the x plus 1 right here by the hole so I remember that. And my new function is going to be 1 over x minus 2. So here, that tells me my x is negative 1. So if my x is negative 1, what is my vertical asymptote now? 2, right? We use the negative 1, so the other one is 2. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go over here and I'm going to dot in my vertical asymptote at 2. So I did that, and so now I have the negative 1 is my x. So if I put my f of negative 1, I'm going to have 1 over negative 1 minus 2, which gives me a negative 1/3. Does everybody see that? We're all okay? Okay, so this is my hole. So at negative 1, negative 1/3, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to have to put my hole, right? I'm going to call this negative 1 right here. And it's not a 0, right? This is the hole on my thing. All right. So the next thing is my horizontal asymptote, and the horizontal asymptote is the one where we look at the exponents. And if you look at your little strip that you're going to use on the quiz, what is the example we have? Where's the exponent the biggest? Top, bottom, or tie? Bottom, which means the denominator is bigger than the numerator. So what is my horizontal asymptote? Y equals 0. So if I go ahead and dot in the y equals 0, sorry. Thank you, though. If I dot in the y equals 0, my question is, can I have an x-intercept? I can't, right? Because the asymptote's there, so we are not touching the x-axis, so we have no x-intercept. If we did have an x-intercept, I would set this equal to 0. So watch what happens if you forget. If I put 0 equals this, what's 0 times x minus 2? 0, so I get 0 equals 1. Does that even make sense? Are there any x's there? No, so that means there's no x-intercept, okay? So if you end up with something like this, it means you don't have any. So next, the y-intercept, y'all. What is 0 for the y-intercept? X. So if I fill in 0 for my x, so if I do f of 0, I'm going to get a negative 1/2. So my y-intercept is 0, negative 1/2. So I'm going to put it right there. It's just a little lower than the negative 1/3. So my range is my y values, right? And so we want all real numbers except what can y not equal? It can't equal negative 1/2, and I heard somebody else say the other one. What's the other one it can't equal? Where's the horizontal asymptote? 0. So we can't have negative 1/2 and 0. Because the range is our y values, right? So what do I run into? If I start at the bottom, I'm going to run into negative 1/2. I can't have that. I'm going to keep going, and I hit the horizontal asymptote, and then I keep going. Does that make sense? Okay. So if we were talking about the domain, I would start at the left. I start at negative infinity, and what do I run into? What's the x value here? Negative 1, right? And then what do I run into? 2, right? So those can't get included. Does that make sense? Okay. So now we talked about I have points over here. Where do I not have a point? I don't have a point over here, right? So I got to test one. So let's do f of 3. So if I do f of 3, I'm going to do 1 over 3 minus 2, and that gives me 1. So that means the point is 3, 1. So I'm next to the 2 and up 1. So this is a point on that branch up there, correct? Okay, so I have points here, so I know what's happening over here. It's going to go like this. It goes like that, and then on this side, it's going to go like this. So really, y'all, it's connect the dots, right? It's really not hard graphing. But when you are graphing, at least put these things on the graph to get some partial credit. If you leave it blank, I have to take all the points, right? If you get at least this on here, I can give you some partial credit. Okay, the other thing I want to talk about before I move on is on the quiz, we've been writing the domain and range like this, right? One of the questions asks you to write it in interval notation. And so if I'm going to write the domain in interval notation, where do I start? I start down here, which is negative infinity. The domain is the x. Where do I have to stop? What number is this for x? Negative 1. So I have to stop there because that's not included. And then I'm going to start again. Negative 1, where do I have to stop? 2, right? The next stop for my x is 2. And then I'm going to do 2 to infinity. And if I had to do that for the range, can I do the same thing? Negative infinity, where's my first stop? What's the y value on my hole? Negative 1/3. I'm going to start at negative 1/3, and I have to stop at the asymptote, which is at 0, and then go 0 to infinity. All right, any questions there? All right, let's look at so this one, y'all, you finish this. this and the Delta Math assignment, these are what are going to get you ready for your quiz. All right? Okay. Wednesday. Quiz on Wednesday in Miss Finnan's class. All right. Go to the little note page still. Okay. Here's what I want us to do. I'm going to help you do the graph, but I want you to try to fill all this in by yourself. So get your little cheat sheet that you have and go ahead and start filling these in. Because that's the biggest thing on the quiz. You got to be able to fill all that in.
I was like, what do you mean?
Do I? No, I never lie.
I was just looking at you like,
I said it out loud. It's fine. I want you to do your best, right?
Yeah.
Right. But okay. So, okay, how many of you got a domain?
I think what we're doing.
So, the first thing we have to do is factor, right? And so you're right. What can we not have? All right, so we can't have x equals -2. So we can't have that. So the next thing that I want to know is, did anything cancel?
No.
So do I have a hole?
No.
No hole. Okay, no holes. So if there's no holes, then the next thing I can go ahead, so we do domain, and then we're going to go straight to vertical asymptote. That's from the bottom. So I'm going to get a vertical asymptote of x equals -2, and I'm going to go ahead and dot that in. The next thing is the horizontal asymptote, straight from your little yellow sheet there. It's bottom heavy, so what is my vertical asymptote?
0.
If I get y equals 0, do I have an x-intercept? So next, how do I get my y-intercept? What's going to be 0? X. Y-intercept is x. So that's going to give me 4 over 2 times 2.
4.
4 divided by 4 is?
1.
So I'm going to get 0, 1 for my y-intercept. So next, what's the only thing my y can't equal? So I'm going to have all real numbers except y cannot equal 0. Okay, honestly, how many of you can probably do most of this? That's like 4 hands.
I'm being so honest. It's like, it's so confusing.
It's on the yellow sheet in front of you. Got 2 of them.
I can't do it. I barely did know that. Like, hard.
All right. Okay. So next. It's not hard. All right. So look. I have this right here. What do I not have? I don't have on the other side. And I have to know whether it's up here or down here. That's what I have to know. So I'm going to do f of -3. So that's going to give me 4 over -1 times -1. And a negative times a negative is a... So I'm going to get -3, 4. So -3, 4 is up here. And so what that tells me is that the branch is here and here. So we get this and this. All right. Okay, y'all, go to example 2. Nunu, focus on me and stop worrying about matching people, will you please? All right, number 2 is it's all factored for you. Start filling this in. Practice, you got to try. You got to try. Do this, Nunu. answered for you. Okay, how many of us are this far? Okay, so, all right, so the next thing I want to know is this. How do I find my horizontal asymptote? Exponents. So when I look, y'all, what's x times x? Okay, and then on the bottom, x times x is, so these are tied. And when they're tied, we look at the number in front, right? So I get a 1 and a 1. So my horizontal asymptote is at 1. Look at number 3, y'all. X squared over x squared, tied. So what's the asymptote on that one? 2. Okay? Okay. So can we go ahead and let's dot in the negative 3 asymptote. And we're going to dot in the 2. So this was negative 3, this was 2. The y equals 1 is here. Yes? No? So is the no, you just don't like it? You just don't like the graphics, right? But like everybody can do this part so far, right? Even if you hate graphing, you can still do this. All right. So x-intercept, y'all, what is at is 0.
Y.
So y is 0. So watch. 0 equals x plus 4 over x minus 1, x plus 3 times x minus 2. If I take 0 times the bottom, what happens? They're 0, right? And so that's going to leave me this. And y'all, what does this look like? When we factor, right? And how do I get my factors? I set this equal to 0 and this equal to 0. Yes.
Plus 4.
Well, it is plus 4. Right there.
Yeah.
Clearly that is a plus 4. All right. But I set each of these equal to 0. Thank you. I set this equal to 0 and this equal to 0. Correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. So that means that my x plus 4 equals 0 and my x minus 1 equals 0. And that tells me x equals negative 4 and x equals 1. So I have 2 x-intercepts. I have negative 4, 0, and 1, 0. So the negative 4 would go on this side, right? And then the 1 goes right here. It's before the 2. How do I find the y-intercept? X is 0. So if I make my x 0, that's going to give me 4 times negative 1 times 3 times negative 2. So that gives me negative 4 over negative 6. What's a negative divided by negative? And then 4 over 6 reduces to 2/3. Which tells me I have 0 2/3 right here. Oh wait, below the 1, sorry. I have to test 2 points. I have to test 2 points. I have to test 1 from 0 to -3 and 1 from 2 or bigger. So if I test f of -1, if I put -1 in, I'm going to get 3 times -2 times 2 -3. So what do I get? -6 over -6 is, all right, so I have -1, and what is it? -1 what? 1, which is right on that asymptote. So the other one I'm going to test is f of 3, and I'm going to come back and talk about that one in a minute. F of 3, if I put the 3 in, I'm going to have 3 plus 4 is 7 times 2 over 6 and 1. Did I do this right? 14 over 6? 7 over 3? Yes. So the point is 7 over 3, so it's bigger than 2. So I get 3 and over here. So here's what I know. I'm going to get a branch here. And I'm going to get a branch here. And the whole time I've been telling you you can't cross the asymptotes, I've been lying. Because you can cross an asymptote, but it has to be between 2 vertical asymptotes. Then you can cross a horizontal. And so this is going to look like